Welcome back to Dream Central Station, where we facilitate holistic personal growth through wisdom, inspiration, spirituality, education, and action so that we can maximize our potential and live our deliberately realized end achieved methodically. If you haven't done so already, I politely ask that you would subscribe to this channel. And if you deem it like, share, and comment worthy, that you would like, share, and comment to keep this conversation going. So this topic for today is emotional intelligence. And I picked this one because in our endeavor to live our dream, to navigate through life, we will encounter people. And we want to ensure that just like the music song from 1991, Chubb says, treat them right. We want to ensure that not only do we treat others right, but we treat ourselves right in the process of navigating through life with other people. So let's jump right into what emotional intelligence, or EQ, is. Emotional intelligence is an element, it's a skill that helps us to handle our own emotions. In addition, it helps us to connect with other people. It helps us to make good choices. And I'm thinking about emotional intelligence and making good choices. If you ever gotten a little bothered, flustered, if your emotions ever rev so high that you kind of blank out a little bit and you make a bad choice or a bad decision in that moment, emotional intelligence is a skill that you can learn to help you to, instead of going there, to regulate your emotions and respond in a different way. It helps you to stay calm under pressure, emotional intelligence. And fun fact, research states that 80% of our success in life has to do with our emotional intelligence, while only 20% of our success in life deals with our IQ, or our intelligence quotient. And you're like, well, what is intelligence quotient? It's the measure of your ability to reason and solve problems. So, like your IQ, emotional intelligence is a skill that we can build. And that's what we're going to talk about today. All right. So, emotional intelligence continued. Emotional intelligence is about being smart with our feelings, your own and other people's. It's understanding why you might be happy one minute and frustrated the next, or why your friend is looking a bit down, even though they're saying everything is fine. All right. Life is all about emotions, and it's been that way for humans since the dawn of the ages. So we're just going to talk about the different emotions that people experienced. And it doesn't matter whether you were a person back before the common era of Jesus Christ himself, Jesus Christ, or if you live in current day, you're a human, you qualify for this emotional intelligence instruction, tutelage, so on and so forth. So there's always time for emotions. Let's look at sadness and joy. Our favorite wise person authored the book of Ecclesiastes as well as Proverbs. And in Proverbs chapter 3, verse 4, he points to two emotions. He points to sadness and joy. And he said, you know, there's a time to cry and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance. I hope you dance. I'm being silly because I'm thinking about that song. I hope you dance. I hope you dance. But that's just Solomon laying out to us that, hey, there's a time and a place for everything under the sun, to include a time for sadness and a time for joy. And there's a time to reflect both of them. I thought it was rather interesting that as you go through the scriptures in the book of James, chapter 1, verse 19, he addresses anger. So we're talking about how humans throughout the ages of humanity have had anger and joy and happiness. But let's just talk about anger for a second, because I know in today's society, in the era of reality television and the reality TV shows, we see anger as almost like a superpower. That everyone in reality television has a gear that they hit. And when they hit this gear and they get angry, they raise their tone and they get upset. They get visibly upset. They start throwing insults back and forth. When people get angry, they basically turn into the Incredible Hulk, like a Marvel movie, and start smashing things and people and hurting people's feelings, but they get results. And I want you to know that the Bible actually addresses anger. And I figured I would take this opportunity while we're talking about emotional intelligence to give us a bonus block of instruction on anger and how to manage that. All right, so let's see how this goes. In James chapter 1, verse 19, he said, understand this, my dear brothers and sisters, that's men and women. You must all be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. So right there in the basic instructions before leaving Earth, we have an instruction. Hey, it's okay to get angry. Just make sure you slow yourself down. I'm thinking about a speed limit when you're going through a school zone because you don't want to hurt any children that might run out into the street. And I'm thinking about as you navigate through that place, you want to slow your speed down. So then you can make a better response to whatever stimulus jumps out in front of you. Well, if you're dealing with precious people and you're navigating through a world of people, I want to ensure that I'm kind of slowing down. When I find myself in a situation where I'm entering into a conversation with a precious person, I don't want to damage them. I certainly don't want to hit anybody with my anger, and I don't want to run into them or cause any kind of accident, something that I didn't mean. You know, I've been saying this for a long time that our words are like bullets. When you shoot them out of your mouth, you can't pull them back. So you don't want to have a negligent discharge with your mouth. So our brother James, in James chapter 1, verse 19, says, hey, understand, my brothers and sisters, men and women. I keep saying men and women, right? Because it takes two to tango. And oftentimes in male-female relationships, folks get angry, right? And it doesn't matter. Male-female relationships, men talking to men, women talking to women, folks get angry. Hey, check this out. You must all be quick to listen. Be quick to listen. And not just a competitive listener, so I can take whatever you said and use it against you, but how about I actively listen? I really want to listen to see how you feel, to see what you're thinking, to gain another perspective on what you're saying, and maybe even get reflective in my listening to where when I listen to you, I can almost feel your emotion. I want to listen to understand. I want to feel where you're coming from, right? So be quick to listen, slow to speak, right? Cut people off when they're talking, and then slow to get angry when they tell you something you didn't want to hear, okay? So then we go forward in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 26, talking about anger. So we established right there, number one, anger has a speed limit. Number two, if you anger, do not sin. Do not let the sun go down while you are still angry. So in Ephesians, the author, whoever wrote that, they're giving us another two nuggets about anger. If you anger, like you can anger, don't sin. If you do get angry, control yourself. Don't allow that anger to cause you to do something that you know is out of your own character. Don't allow that anger to push you into a point of now you got to ask a person to forgive you for what you did, right? So that's one. And then number two, there's a time limit. So we got a speed limit and we got a time limit. Do not let the sun go down while you are still angry. You got to get over that stuff. A lot of times we want to perpetuate how angry we are by taking whatever offense somebody committed towards us and replaying that in our conversations with other people. Solomon said in a separate passage, and I'm going to have to paraphrase, but he basically said that if you take a log out of a fire, the fire will go out. And if you take gossip out of a conversation or circle of friends, then quarreling will die. It'll die down and go away completely. So that's just another tidbit. So I'm thinking about that. And then I also want to tell you that anger can be deflected. In Proverbs, our favorite wise person, again, Solomon, he strikes again. He says, Proverbs chapter 15, verse 1, he says, a gentle answer deflects anger, but harsh words makes tempers flare. So if you don't want to get angry, then you provide a gentle answer to whomever you're speaking with. You know, I used to think that only applied to so if I give somebody a gentle answer and they're angry, then they're going to come down. Yes, that's possible. But even if that person is angry and you are employing emotional intelligence and self-regulation, they can continue on. They could turn into the Incredible Hulk and knock down a skyscraper. It has nothing to do with you because you have decided to regulate your own emotion and respond in a gentle way. You can calm yourself down. And either A, they'll follow you in calming themselves down, or B, they'll continue to turn into the Incredible Hulk. They'll get more and more green and mad and stronger in their anger and commit all the different atrocities that people do when they're angry, but you won't be anywhere near that. You won't have anything to do with that. So then when it's time for the apologies to come out, you may not owe them that kind of apology. Maybe you did offend them Maybe you weren't perfect and you weren't wrong. However, in you being angry, you managed your anger. You were conscious of it. And you actually put it in a place where it didn't allow you, it didn't take you to a place you didn't want to go. I hope I'm making sense. So I was thinking about that. And then we're going to go away from anger. I think we did a good job of addressing anger. But let's talk about another popular topic, toxic positivity. Toxic positivity. I thought the Bible was interesting because it was written so long ago. And we got a lot of critics out there that say they read the Bible and it doesn't apply to regular life. And I want you to lean in if you're one of those people, right? Don't get angry with me, but lean in because I'm going to talk to you about toxic positivity and how the Bible actually addresses that. Let me tell you how wise Solomon was. He wasn't just wise in his own time. He's wise for right now. In Proverbs chapter 24, verse 14, he said, if anyone loudly blesses their neighbor early in the morning, it will be taken as a curse. So now I'm thinking, if it's early in the morning, the person's just waking up and they may not be a morning person. And I'm out there talking about blessing that wonderful name of the Lord and how awesome the day is with my loud, boisterous, positive self, that may be off-putting and offensive to them. That again requires me to have a degree of emotional intelligence. I have to be aware of my positivity and regulate that. And then in my relationship with them, I have to be aware of how they would receive that positivity at that moment and how they may not appreciate it. So again, Solomon is addressing being positive, being loud and boisterous and happy. Isn't that what we want? I'll go again. Proverbs chapter 25, verse 20. Solomon went on to say, singing cheerful songs to a person with a heavy heart is like taking someone's coat in cold weather or pouring vinegar in a wound. So if you got everything going for you right now and someone just tells you that a family member passed away or they fell down on bad times or they might be out of employment and everything's going great with you, that's not the time to kind of like push over whatever it is that they're saying and tell them how great life is and buck up, bucker, you're going to make it and everything is good always. You want to be sensitive to whatever it is that they're going through because at the beginning and end of everything, we're representatives of the love of God. And Solomon is addressing that right now. And he's like, hey, positivity is a good thing. Anger is not a bad thing. But if you don't use them properly, they may be misconstrued and taken in a bad way, received in a bad way. So just remember, talking about Chubb Rock, treat them right. How do we treat people right? How do we treat ourselves right as we navigate through life? Because we want to be fair. Well, we learn to employ the skill of emotional intelligence. So Romans chapter 12, verse 15 kind of sums up our Bible scriptures. And it says, be happy with those who are happy and weep with those who weep. It's one of the best single pieces of advice in one statement that sums up emotional intelligence. Be happy with those who are happy and weep with those who weep. That involves you being aware of yourself, regulating your own emotions, being aware of the other person, as well as regulating that social relationship, that relationship management. All right. So we went through our scriptures and let's talk about what emotional intelligence actually looks like. People who have high emotional intelligence are able to figure out their own emotions. People with high emotional intelligence can control their emotions. They can understand the emotions of others and they respond appropriately to other people's emotions, right? So there are several benefits to emotional intelligence. And the first one I shared with you early, our success in life, and it's worth reiterating, our success in life is 80% emotional intelligence and 20% intelligence quotient. And I'll give you an example. I read a book on how to have influence and power in dealing with people by Les Giblin. And he said that a doctor with good bedside manner or good emotional intelligence, the doctor who can relate to their patient, listen to their patient, empathize with their patient, care about their patient, is less likely to get a malpractice suit, even if they're more deserving of a malpractice suit. Even if they make a mistake, they're less likely to get a malpractice lawsuit than a doctor who is more technically and tactically proficient, who has better skills in surgery, but horrible bedside manner. The doctor with horrible bedside manner is more likely to get a malpractice suit, even though their work doesn't warrant it. That speaks to the importance of emotional intelligence and how people like to be treated. People don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care. People are really concerned with how you make them feel. They may not remember what you told them. They may not remember what you said, but they will always remember how you made them feel. So when we start talking about emotions and feelings, we're talking about emotional intelligence, how to navigate through that. So the benefits of emotional intelligence, all right, number one, they help us understand and relate to other people. Emotional intelligence will help us, number two, communicate effectively. It boosts our compassion. So I know I'm a little bit different. I've been through a decent amount of hard things in life, and they've kind of hardened me. One thing that my study on emotional intelligence has done, and me trying to observe the skill and develop and build it and work on it, has helped to boost my compassion for other human beings. So rather than me just looking at them like I would look at myself, be like, just shake it off, suck it up. Hey, let me take a brief moment to be in the moment, to be mindful, and to think about, allow myself to reflect on what this person might be experiencing right now. Man. And is there anything I can do to help them in this instant, right? Number four, making smarter decisions. And we addressed that earlier. If we can regulate our emotions, we'll be less likely to make emotional decisions or decisions in haste. We'll be more likely to create an ideal situation in our own internal environment to where we make the best decision moving forward, even though things around us may be going haywire. And then last, but certainly not least, staying strong. Life can sometimes throw curveballs. Being emotionally intelligent means you're better at catching and tossing them back. You're better able to handle stress, adapt to change, and bounce back from setbacks when you study and work on building your EQ. All right. So let's go through the components of emotional intelligence. I know I had danced around them earlier, but I just want to give you the four components of emotional intelligence. And there's this guy named Daniel Goleman. Daniel Goleman had a book out, and I want to say in the early 2000s, and he's one of the leading psychologists that came out with this term, and he did the research on emotional intelligence. And let me see if I can find this quote for you. He said, emotional aptitude is a meta ability, determining how well we can use whatever other skills we have, including raw intellect. So a meta skill is the ability to learn and apply new knowledge quickly, also known as meta ability. It's an overarching range of capabilities people need to learn new skills faster and drive functional expertise in other skills. So Daniel Goleman was one of the leading people, the leading thought people, or one of the thought leaders in emotional intelligence early on. And he really brought a lot of acclaim to this topic. And he's like, hey, if you have emotional intelligence and you work on this, it's going to cause everything else to go up. I'm thinking of the expression that says all ships rise with the tide. Well, if you're thinking about yourself as a human being and your professional development, your personal development, if you incorporate the study of emotional intelligence and implement emotional intelligence in your life, it's going to cause everything else in your life to rise up. All right. So now we look at the four components of emotional intelligence. And the first one is self-awareness. Self-awareness, being aware of how you feel, how you are, what emotion you have at any given moment. Self-awareness. High emotional intelligence is about knowing yourself and understanding your true feelings, why you react a certain way, and what makes you tick. When you're self-aware, you understand your moods and are better able to respond appropriately instead of reacting, which can help you make decisions with more clarity and ease. If you're self-aware, it'll help you. It'll help me. If I'm self-aware, it'll help me to understand why I'm doing what I'm doing, why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. And this is a skill. This is an art. This is a skill. This is something that we can practice every day. And just like an art or skill that you practice every day, you get better and better at it the more you do it. And of course, if you live in a world with other people and you interact with other people, guess what? Plenty of repetitions for us to work out. The next step is self-regulation. Okay, so now that I'm aware of my emotion and how I feel and how I'm about to react or respond, how do I regulate that? What if I'm about to react in a way that's not professional? It might embarrass me and the people that I'm with. Okay, this is where self-regulation comes in. Come on. Self-regulation is your ability to soothe your nervous system when you're in a hot emotional state. Has anybody ever been in a hot emotional state before? I'm talking about upset, livid. Have you? Okay. It stops you from reacting angrily or becoming impulsive when you're excited. Okay, so anger is a hot emotional state, but what if you're extremely excited? What if your favorite team, if you're in the middle of somebody's funeral service, and I don't know why you would be on your electronic device in a funeral service, but just go with me for a second, and your favorite team scores a touchdown, are you going to be like, yes, in his face, in his face? And you got people crying all around you? Or maybe in a movie theater, something like that. Just think about that. The ability to regulate a positive or negative emotional state. So just thinking about that, right? Self-regulation is what helps you manage your emotions, not the other way around. Your emotions don't manage you. And it's a key component in overall mental well-being. Just think about how glad you are when you reflect on something before you react, when you think before you say something, you think before an action, and think about how that impulsive action would have messed you up in a situation. Mental well-being. Now you don't have to think about what you could have done different. You're like, nope, I had the thought before I did it. And as a result, I did the best thing that I could have done in that situation. Therefore, I have no regrets. All right. So a part of self-regulation is your inner cheerleader. And I think this is worth just giving a shout. It gives you out of bed in the morning. It gets you out of bed in the morning and keeps you going, even when things are tough. When you're motivated, you have a purpose. You're focused on your goals and you don't give up easily. So part of self-regulation is that internal voice that you have. Like if I ask you to read this right here, but keep your mouth closed, the internal voice would say, right, it would say that. That internal voice is the most important voice in your life because no matter what's going on around you, that's going to be the loudest one. And it's often going to be the one that when everybody else is quiet, it's the one that's still talking to you. So you want to develop that inner cheerleader, that coach, that teacher, trainer, that mentor, that corner man like Mickey from Rocky. Get up because Mickey loves you, right? Okay. So then we get into the third component of emotional intelligence, which is social awareness. So we got self-awareness. I'm aware of how I feel inside. Self-regulation. Let me get myself right based upon how I'd like for the world to perceive me, not necessarily how I want to turn into the Incredible Hulk right now and rip up a skyscraper, but that's not the appropriate thing to do. Maybe the appropriate thing to do is to take a deep breath, regulate my emotion, and then figure out exactly what I need to say in the moment to express how I feel and maybe give a critical piece of information that'll help our team to advance our mission, right? And now that I've done that, we get into social awareness. This is me being aware of the people in the room, my surroundings, the other people around me. Social awareness involves empathy. It's what lets you tune into other people's emotions. It's understanding and sharing what others feel that helps you connect with them better. When you're empathetic, friends and family might say you're a great listener or that you really get them. This is involving you being present in the moment and listening for the other person, for what they're saying verbally and non-verbally. This is where you're giving people your undivided attention and you refuse to be preoccupied with things of the past or elements in the future. You're here in the moment. All right. And then social awareness leads to relationship management or social skills. These are the tools you use to build and keep good relationships. It's knowing how to communicate. How do you play well with others and resolve conflicts? Good social skills mean you're often the person who glues the group together. This involves communication. And like I said, it also would involve a degree of conflict resolution because we understand that if you lived in any point of time with humans, that conflict will arise. And the better you are at communicating and resolving conflicts, the better generally you're going to be in your relationships with people everywhere. All right. So now let's talk about how to develop. How do we grow our emotional intelligence or our intelligence quotient? All right. First thing is we want to be open to feedback. Be open to feedback. Constructive criticism is really something that's designed to edify you. It's where people who love you, they tell you the truth in love. And or even people who don't love you, people that may not even know you, they're telling you something. And if you keep hearing it, you can actually take that into consideration, almost like Batman goes to the Batcave and he does research on the computer and then he comes up with a solution. You can actually take that information and fine tune and develop yourself based off of the feedback you're getting from other people. It's like the truck driver, the 18-wheeler on the highway. How's my driving? How's my lifing? How am I lifing with you? How's my communication? How's my emotional intelligence? How's my sensitivity level? Is it overly sensitive or is it not sensitive enough? Let me know. And of course, this is where you would take trusted advisors, counsel, or anybody who's going to be honest with you, right? So I have two quotes here. If one person calls you a donkey, you just tell them to get. But if 5 people call you a donkey and these 5 people don't even know each other, buy a saddle. Fabulous, Fabolous says, if the shoe fits, buy an outfit to match. Own it. Hey, be open to the feedback. And if the shoe fits and you had to buy an outfit to match, just remember you could always change. If the feedback you're getting is something that you don't want, you don't like it, it doesn't represent how you'd like to be, you can take that and make an adjustment. Almost like if the outfit and the shoes are a certain size, you can lose weight, you could change. All right. Number 2, taking accountability. Be responsible for what you do and how you feel. If you make a mistake, own the mistake, right? I know we have pride. I know I have pride and ego, and I want to be smart and I want to be together and I want to make as few mistakes as possible. And that's something that I have to work on, right? Taking accountability will actually help me with that. So just own it, right? Early and often. Number 3, hone our listening skills. 4 types of listening: active, passive, competitive, and reflective. Active and reflective listening are the best kinds of listening. Because if I'm active, that means I'm not on my telephone. I'm not looking around to see who else is in the room while you're talking to me. I'm right here with you in the moment. I'm listening to what you're saying. And not only am I listening, I'm watching your nonverbal communication. I'm locked in other words. And a reflective listener is, again, someone who will listen with their emotions. Competitive listener is going to argue with you. They're only looking for what you said that supports their argument against you. They're studying to maintain their position as opposed to gain understanding and to be understood. And so you have active, competitive, passive, and reflective. A passive listener is someone who's really not paying attention to you at all. They're just standing in front of you, I guess, because it's the polite thing to do, but it's not really listening at all. All right. So hone your listening skills. Work on being an active and reflective listener. At a minimum, an active listener. Number 4, reflect on how you respond in stressful moments, and not just how you respond, but study other people and how they respond in stressful moments. I was in a situation a few years ago at my job and my computer wasn't working. And I wanted to run to the help desk because the physical people, the people at the physical help desk were present, and I wanted to let them have it. I wanted to just kind of like jump out of my body and yell at them because my stuff wasn't working. And I'm so thankful that I didn't. And I'm so thankful that the person in front of me was doing exactly what I wanted to do. And I had an opportunity to watch them in action. When I saw how angry they looked and how mean they were being to the people at the customer help desk to fix the computer, I had to cancel my order on being angry and outwardly showing it. And it really caused me to turn the volume down. So instead of being at a 9 because my unit's not working and I can't work, let me turn the volume down to 1 because I don't want to look like that. I don't want to be like that. I don't want that to be my reputation. And then when people see me and they start acting funny, or at least I perceive they're acting funny towards me, and I'm trying to figure out why, it's because you went off on everybody on the whatever floor in that building, right? So just thinking about that, reflect on how you respond and potentially study how other people respond and look at the best responses. We can always study people and look for examples of what to do and not to do. And if we have a shortage of other people to study, we can reflect on what we did and what we didn't do. All right. Number 5, mindfulness, staying in the moment, being present, being intentional to work on emotional intelligence. Number 6, huge, learn to disagree without fighting with folks. It's okay to respectfully disagree with someone and not have any emotion attached to it. I don't know where we got that from, to where whenever you disagree with someone, you become enemies, or you have to be a pugilist in a ring and they represent one side of an idea and you represent the other side of the idea. There's something in life called creative abrasion, and that's where you get a logical person and a creative person and you put them in the ring together. But instead of them fighting against each other like boxers, they fight beside one another like tag team wrestling partners. And whoever their opponent is, that's the actual challenge. That's the problem set. So I want you to think about that. Just because you disagree with someone doesn't mean you have to be angry, and it doesn't mean that you have to start fighting with them. You could actually join forces, stand shoulder to shoulder, and take the best solutions from both minds and apply it to whatever opposition or challenge you may encounter. That's one of the best things to do when you have diversity. So when we start talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, rather than everybody arguing their position and which one is better, hey, let's just agree that we have a mission in front of us, and we're going to take the best skill sets, the diverse thought processes, the diverse ideas, and we're going to apply them against this singular challenge. You fare a lot better doing that than everyone arguing their position and trying to pick and choose who they can get along with based off of what they agree upon. All right. And then last but certainly not least, take time to cultivate supportive relationships. Surround yourself with people who lift you up and then whom you can uplift and who you connect with emotionally. Having emotional intelligent relationships can help you to be even more emotionally intelligent yourself. It goes back to what we spoke about in our previous episode on friendship. We are the average of our 5 best friends. I know when I said that a few years ago, a friend of mine came up on social media and was like, what does that mean? Explicitly, if you have 4 other friends and you fellowship and you hang out with them, their characteristics and behaviors and habits will start to rub off on you as well as yours on them. And if you select your friends wisely, then you're going to have some of the best things in all 4 of those people rubbing off on you. That's why our favorite wise person, Solomon, says, iron sharpens iron, and so a man sharpens the countenance of his friend. Sean Carter said, if everyone in your crew is rich, then your crew is rugged. Nobody will fall because we'll all be each other's crutches. I thought that was really cool too. All right. And then last but not least, in our journey to realize our dreams, we will involve people at every turn. In order to successfully navigate to our destination, we want to ensure that we do what Chubb said in his 1991 hit single, treat them right. Folks, dreamers, this concludes episode Emotional Intelligence. And I want to encourage you, as I encourage myself, to work this skill. Let's get good at emotional intelligence and let's use this. Let's find different ways and opportunities we can implement this in our lives. Why? Because whatever we train ourselves to do daily is exactly what we will become. And this is one of those skills that we can develop and get stronger and more proficient in. And the better we are at this, the easier it will be to journey along toward our deliberately realized end achieved methodically. Y'all have a great day and a better week. I look forward to seeing y'all. And again, if you like this, if you feel like it's share, comment worthy, get on there, do it, and be sure to subscribe and hit that bell for the latest updates. Y'all take care.